What's up, YouTube? This is your girl, Megan. Welcome back to the HoodAstroQ to all of my returning subscribers. However, if this is your first time joining me on today, be sure to subscribe to become part of the family, for one. And then go ahead, thumbs up this video, share with a friend you want to. And then finally, if you are interested in booking your very own natal or Synastry reading, I actually have a whole plethora of services available. If you're interested in that, hit up the email address in my description box, astrowerld, WERLD @gmail.com, and we can go ahead and schedule your consultation on today. So with that being said, as you can see today, we're going to talk about Blueface and Chrisean rock. So as I'm sure y'all may know, these are like some of the two biggest hot messes in the media as of lately. Okay, so Blueface is actually a LA-based rapper with one song that everybody knows. He came out with that Bust Down Tatiana back in like 2017, right? If you put a gun to my head today and ask me to recite any other lyric, any other song that he's ever made, I'm gonna just go ahead, tell my mama, tell my daughter, I love you. It's over with. I don't know nothing else this man does, okay? However, he's definitely been in the media. He's been in the blogs a lot for his personal life. And specifically when it comes to his relationship with Chrisean. So Chrisean, I think she at some point was, or maybe still is, an aspiring rapper. But basically, there was supposed to be a reality television show in the works that Blueface was supposed to be coordinating on his own accord, right? He had a bunch of women living in his house, fighting it out like gladiators on the daily. And Chrisean was one of those women, I suppose. So they somehow got cool, and, that relationship kind of blossomed from that point, and they ended up being together. And it's just been a lot of drama because there has always been a lot of women linked to Blueface. So he had at least 2 other baby mamas he was dealing with other women as well. So I guess Chrisean is the last woman standing. She beats everybody asses, you know what I'm saying, who gets next to him very visibly, in a really toxic kind of like my man type of relationship. He appears to be very abusive to her. It's a whole situation. Y'all gonna have to catch up on it, on like a T channel if you're not aware. It's really a lot to get into. But I mean, they've done everything from fighting each other in public to, I think she even had her tooth knocked out her mouth at some point. Not by him, I presume, but then she went and got his name tatted on her, or his face tatted on her neck, and his face on her fake tooth, and he takes it out. And it's, listening to myself describe this, I'm tired. I'm tired, y'all. But they're always in the news for some type of dysfunction. It's always something. It's always something, y'all. And he's always publicly humiliating her. I think he pulled a patch of hair out her head, yada, yada, yada. So needless to say, I've been getting a lot of requests to cover this couple's Synastry just because of the egregious, downright ridiculous nature of this relationship. And although, we can laugh, we can joke, ha ha ha, this is crazy. It is a crazy relationship from our vantage point. I wanted to do the Synastry reading, also to kind of highlight some of the, telltale signs of, dysfunctional relationships that can often be found in Synastry. Those things that, like, when people really start telling the truth about, motherfuckers get mad and uncomfortable, But I want y'all to see something, okay? Because just follow me here, okay? So Blueface was born January 20th, 1997 in Los Angeles, California. We don't know his time of birth, but we can safely deduce that he is an Aquarius sun. And depending on, exactly the time he was born, he could either be a latter degree Gemini moon or a very early degree Cancer moon. I would say Gemini moon based on just how the relationship with his mother has kind of played out and from what we know of the situation. So basically, he and his mother have a very contentious relationship. Not to mention, Chrisean has even beat up this man's mama and his sister as well. So you add that to the tension with his relationship with his sister. His moon is giving me very much Gemini moon at the 29th degree, because that could signify paramount conflict when it comes to family. Everything from domestic disputes to issues with siblings. It could even point towards a man who has a mother who acts more like a sibling than a mother who could be very childish, immature. All the things in which like people have kind of pointed out in regards to his mom. I did do an initial natal chart reading on Blueface a few years ago. Y'all feel free to check that out if you care to. But, it could also speak to, and in that reading, I was speaking to this Gemini moon influence in terms of him having a very unstable upbringing. He mentioned that he moved around, switched schools a bunch of times. That's very Gemini moon. These are people who could relocate a bunch of times. But there's also, even depending on how it's aspected, but, definitely with that number 29 factored in some extreme cases, not for everyone, but there can be an element of incest, right? Incestuous kind of dealings. And this could be between siblings, of course, because Gemini can deal with siblings. It can deal with cousins. But, of course, even the mother. And the number 29 could also kind of heighten or amplify it. Now, this could be in a literal sense. It could also be in an emotional sense. The number 29 could even deal with, like, internal issues. But it could also deal with, like, sexual issues, things that are just really dysfunctional. Like I said, abuse, so on and so forth. But I'm going to leave that there, because a lot of people have commented on just how really warped Blueface's relationship with his mom really is, and all that jazz. So, and that could absolutely bleed over into how a man experiences women. I know a lot of men with either their moon or especially Venus in Gemini. Y'all go check out that Venus in Gemini F-Boy live stream. Their ability to really lead stable lives and build secure attachments as it pertains to like women and the people in their personal lives can be really hard. These are definitely, they can be, womanizers. And that number 29, if he does have his moon at the 29th degree of Gemini, could also amplify that as well. And it could also speak to where a lot of this could come or be rooted from insecurity. A lot of these people, even in their darkest form, when we talk about that moon in Gemini, can weaponize that cognitive ability, that mercurial kind of tendency that they all have in terms of like mind control, that could be weaponized over other people. He also has his moon squaring Saturn, especially with his Saturn in Aries, that could create a man who could even have a chip on his shoulder as it pertains to women. And of course, a lot of this could be rooted in one's relationship with the mother. That could be a downright hatred, you know what I'm saying? Or just extreme cruelty, be it physical, right? With Saturn is in Aries, and with him being an Aries South node, him having a temper, being physically abusive and controlling. But to be fair, it could also put him in situations where he's on the receiving end of that kind of behavior from women as well. Where that could just be a really negative relationship between himself, once again, and his siblings or a sibling, which we know he doesn't have a good relationship with his sister either. Also reinforced with his moon squaring Mars, that can also make a man very brutish, and can give him a chip on his shoulder when it comes to women. His Mars is in Libra, which deals with the opposite sex as well. So he kind of just has it bad, and that could, in some cases, can be, I do consider Mars squaring the moon to be a potential domestic dispute aspect, just because the moon does deal with home. Mars can deal with conflict, in extreme cases, violence, ambush, attacks, with Mars being in Libra. But it could also just deal with where a person is very emotionally immature. In his case, this could manifest in tit-for-tat behavior. Just a lot of conflict in one's, these are people who are hardly ever at peace in their personal lives, when it comes to, once again, the women around them and their relationships with Mars in Libra. In fact, having Mars and Libra squaring that Gemini moon, especially at the 29th degree, the number 29 can deal with situations where a person could be in the middle, as can Libra. So having that square for Blueface, I could see also manifesting or materializing in situations where he's in the middle of different women. So women fighting over him, right? That could be a part of a lot of that conflict type of situation. So of course we know there have been many instances in which that has been the case. His moon is also opposed to Mercury, with his Mercury at the 6th degree of Capricorn. So that could also reinforce, once again, putting him at odds, with family members. It could just also make him somebody who is very hot and cold. And I get that kind of temperament about him where there could be something about him that's very unbalanced. Even in terms of, once again, how he treats women, his relationships, where he could go prolonged periods of time. Like, intuitively, I get him like starving women of like communication, like the push and pull kind of method. Those kind of scenarios. Not to mention, he just has a host of other things in his chart that's just, it really does explain a lot about and can give insight to just how warped he is as a person, and understanding how that can contribute to the synastry between he and Chrisean. He has that Sun-Neptune conjunction. I even mentioned this in my initial reading of him. I feel like this could contribute to addiction, substance abuse problems, which they give low-key, on the lowest of keys, Bobby Whitney behavior, just in terms of the type of unpredictability, which, he's also an Aquarius sun. So, having that sun conjoined to Neptune can deal with somebody who can be really unpredictable off them drugs. Allegedly. He also has that Sun-Uranus conjunction. Now, another way this can materialize is a person who may not be that comfortable with showing or revealing themselves, like in terms of like who they are. They can have a lot of insecurities. Y'all know Aquarius is the sign of homosexuality, so I'm not saying every Aquarius on the planet has to be LGBTQ plus. Of course not. I just find it interesting because there was a lot of people have been rumoring that like he could potentially be one of the girls. That's what the word is. I'm just saying this Aquarius sun, Neptune, and Uranus conjunction don't debunk that. It doesn't debunk that. If anything, Neptune could deal with where a person masquerades a lot. So in situations where you have the sun in conjunction to Neptune, that could just be a person who feels like they can't really, shine and step into their true form. They could do a lot of pretending, a lot of things people don't really know about them. And then his sun is also squaring Chiron. So with his Chiron being at that 1st degree of Scorpio, a lot of this could be sexual in nature. But to be fair, it could also deal with wounds that a person may have sustained. So maybe some sort of sexual trauma inflicted upon him. The sun can deal with male influences. You know what I mean? So masculine influences, y'all can take that however you will. That in tandem with the some of those incestuous indicators in his chart. Like I said, take that how you will. We just gonna leave that alone. Different video for a different day. My guy is clearly troubled with that Saturn conjoined to his Aries South node. His ability to just practice self-control isn't really there, right? This could materialize in issues with impulse control, people who could just be naturally very problematic, angry, conflict-oriented, the whole nine. Even selfish, egotistical, even some narcissistic behavior. Sun in conjunction to Neptune could also kind of contribute to that narcissism kind of vibe, in terms of giving a person this kind of grandiose sense of even importance, right? With the sun in conjunction to Neptune. So, there's that. Now, getting into the synastry of it all, which is what we came here to really talk about. Chrisean and Blueface exhibit, or they share, one of the biggest no-nos in synastry that I always advocate against. And this is the Sun South Node conjunction. Okay? So this is problem number one. Problem number one, with Blueface's Sun at the 0 degree of Aquarius, forming a conjunction to Chrisean's Aquarius South Node, right? Her South Node is at the 1st degree, so it's a very tight conjunction. Sun South Node conjunctions are very problematic in synastry because they represent where the Sun individual activates a lot of the South Node individual's past life karma. Why is this a problem, you ask? Well, because in this lifetime, that's the energy that we are supposed to be moving away from, not towards. Meaning, anytime you find yourself getting caught up in South Node tendencies, a lot of times it backfires and it can manifest in extremely problematic circumstances, tower moments, things that just don't really work out quite right. It could be very complicated emotional attachments. It could be codependent in nature, relationships that can keep people stuck and bound to the past or to just their lower selves. Okay. And initially it could be a relationship that oftentimes, it could extend back into past life scenarios. So for example, in this case, having Blueface's Sun conjoined to Chrisean's Aquarius South Node could deal with maybe they were friends in a past lifetime. Maybe there was something very familiar on a soul level that the two kind of recognized in one another. And to that point, it could be really hard to let these relationships go, which actually does play a very significant role in why it seems like no matter how big of a shit show this relationship is, neither one could fully leave the other alone. And that's the kind of feeling, right? That person is so familiar to you that you kind of hang on for dear life. They could have been family in a past life as well. But in this lifetime, a friendship, some type of like platonic situation could have been what bound them together. And once you're bound to that person, when we talk about Sun South Node synastry, that's where the dysfunction comes in. That's it. And you pretty much just have to endure a lot of shit in order to keep that relationship or that connection going. Now, are there ways in which, do people walk around out here with Sun South Node relationships every day? Yeah. But when we start talking about the quality of those relationships, different story. So y'all can get in my comments saying, Megan, you so negative. Me and my partner. Fuck you and your partner. Okay? The relationship, I promise you, if you have a Sun South Node relationship, there's dysfunction somewhere, somehow. And not the healthy kind either. Not the healthy kind of problems, that are in relationships, because no relationship is perfect. We're talking about destabilizing connections here. Connections that are not healthy for you on a soul level. So, do with that what you will. But yeah, that's one of the biggest issues. And with his Sun also opposing her Leo North Node in this lifetime, Chrisean has a lot of karma to really activate in terms of her understanding of how romantic relationships work. Okay, Leo rules the 5th house. It rules the heart. It rules matters of the heart. These are people who have hard lessons to learn. They're supposed to be put through challenges in that regard, where she's supposed to learn what love is versus what it's not. And a lot of that is deeply rooted in father issues, daddy issues. A lot of Leo South and North Nodes could have very, very deeply woven daddy issues. That next to my Capricorn South and North Nodes can have really big daddy wounds as well. But, these are people who have to familiarize themselves with, how men work and how relationships work, how love works. But the problem with that opposition to that Aquarius South Node and Blueface's sun is that it's almost like she'll kind of, risk it all. Leo can deal with risk, right? Where you're risking your heart, you're risking it all for love. You're gambling, you're winning big, you're trying to win big anyway. But no matter how much she tries, it always escapes her. This could also set them up for a up-down relationship, on, off, unstable, and it through and through. So, where he can be very loving and doting, or where maybe she could feel like her heart space is being activated, and then just that quickly, Aquarius could deal with betrayal. So where he's naturally going to activate a lot of those Aquarius South Node tendencies, where it just feels like love is, these people can feel kind of alienated. That can quite literally deal with alienation and separations and her feeling cold and being hurt. Even friend zone, like situations where they get together and act more like friends, or he'll treat her like that more than he does the actual partner. Aquarius is also the sign of entitlement, where he can feel very entitled to her. So, and the list just goes on and on and on, honestly. He also has his Uranus conjoined to her South Node as well. That could deal with, outside influences, his friends, other people kind of just influencing the connection. His Neptune is conjoined to her South Node as well. So that's him taking her for granted. That could even be a situation where he kept the relationship private for a while. But that could also even deal with extreme levels of like gaslighting, and just also the theme of like addiction being added into there, whether it be both of them having addiction issues. She's also a Pisces, a lot of Pisces, especially with that Mercury in Pisces. A lot of Pisces, the darker side of that archetype can also be substance abuse. She also has Venus at the first degree of Pisces. So she has a lot of different indicators of that. That could also just be dealing with a partner who has, substance problems. Not to mention where a person can easily become victimized or enslaved or entrapped to their situation. So it's a lot going on already. But yeah, that Sun South Node Synastry was kind of hook, line, sinker. But to add to that, you also have Chrisean's Cancer Moon opposing Blueface's Venus, which could deal with where they can't live together. They probably have a really difficult time living together. But that Moon-Venus opposition could also be indicative of there being more than one woman in the picture, and where he could struggle, balancing his time between the two, or however many are in the rotation. That could also contribute to like the hot and cold nature of their relationship as well, and where as a Cancer Moon, Chrisean is just naturally very reactionary. But no doubt Blueface could do a lot of gaslighting, especially if his Neptune just so happens to be opposing her moon. And we don't really know that for sure because we don't know their time of birth, but depending on what time, Chrisean was born, Blueface's Neptune could definitely be opposing her Cancer Moon, and that could also deal with like gaslighting, creeping with other women, that the whole vibe, right? Issues with like just boundaries in their relationship where it's just non-existent. It goes on and on. Where his family could interfere, or he doesn't know how to implement boundaries in his relationship with his own family. Where his mom and everybody are habitual line crossers, and so on and so forth. We also have her Mercury squaring his Pluto, which can be really dangerous because it can create an element of mind control on his end. And he also has a lot of personal aspects in his natal chart that could just make him not just physically abusive, but once again, mentally abusive, where he could just kind of have that domineering kind of personality, that masochistic, kistic, or sadistic is the word, one of the two, mindset when it comes to how he, treats the people. That could be verbal abuse. That could be, him playing on her top, like all kind of stuff. They also have the quintessential abusive, toxic relationship aspect, which is her Venus squaring his Pluto. Venus square Pluto is an abusive relationship through and through, or a relationship that just has a propensity to be extremely, incredibly toxic. It could be cheating. It could be, of course, once again, obsession, to people who can't leave each other alone. And really, with his Pluto squaring her Venus, she has the shorter end of the stick. You could see in their synastry that Blueface carries a lot of the power, like in terms of the dynamic. Yes, Rock may be very violent, even with her Mars at that 23rd degree of Aries. And then him also being an Aries South Node doesn't mesh well together. You could tell she has a lot of anger issues. It explains her being, her temperamental nature, all of that. But he definitely has more of a stronghold in the relationship when it comes to like psychologically and in terms of the power dynamic. And truth be told, probably even physically, financially even, where he could be, using her in terms of like her money. I mean, he also has that Venus in Capricorn that could deal with a guy who, his approach to relationships could be very exploitive or transactional. So intuitively, I'm kind of getting that vibe going on. I don't know how she makes her money or whatever, but it could give pimp vibes. That's also very much a testament to his moon squaring Saturn. That's like more of like a gorilla pimp with his Saturn in Aries. So it's just, they do give me pimp hoe vibes. With his bottom, like she's his most loyal bottom bitch vibes. And that's just the energy signature that I get. But either way, is super toxic. And then finally, I want to end with the last piece of evidence that contributes to this really, really toxic relationship that they have, synastry-wise, which would be Chrisean's Leo North Node squaring Blueface's Chiron and Scorpio, which naturally is going to make the relationship just very dysfunctional. You could look at where Chiron is present as, of course, situations or instances where like wounds can be inflicted upon the person, but where they can hurt other people as well. It could also even deal with circumstances that are just, once again, extraordinary. And that could be for better or for worse. I mean, we're talking about a square here. So, very defective. And once again, dysfunctional. And where he could take advantage of a lot of her naivety, which is very Leo North Node. Especially at the first degree, because the number 1 is ruled by the sun. So these are people who can be very naive, or where he could take advantage of a lot of those daddy issues that she has, or her desire to be seen, her desire to be heard and validated, and taking advantage of her big heart, and for ulterior motives, or just using that for his own like personal reasons, or where there could just be something about the relationship that it injects this super beefed up level of like toxicity into the picture. And it's just kind of how the relationship is kind of doomed to play out that way. Where it's almost like there's something about Chrisean and how she gives and expresses love that triggers a lot of his demons. You know what I mean? Another way that you can view, now that I'm thinking about it, her Mercury squaring his Pluto could also be her being very suspicious of him, but him also being very suspicious, like where jealousy and things like that could also factor into the relationship big time. Is also evident with Venus squaring Pluto in synastry, even that Chiron and Scorpio squaring her North Node, where those are just like really big components. But specifically with Mercury squaring Pluto, that could also have resulted in her searching his phone, because there was a story about how he pulled out her hair because she went through his phone and like she locked herself in the bathroom, and my guy pulled the door off the hinges and like commenced to pulling her hair. At this point, what the fuck you got in your phone? And this is where people started speculating, like, unless he had some extendo dicks in his phone, like, we already know that you're a womanizer. We already know that and I'm pretty sure she knows that you cheat with every woman under the sun, what else could possibly be in your phone that you would fight that hard to not have her look at it? That would have her look at you so much differently than the way she in the world already currently views you. Things that make you go, Things that make you go, But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this reading. Y'all drop down in the comment section. Let me know what y'all thought about this Synastry. What do y'all think about these two as a couple? And do y'all recognize some of these harsh aspects Synastry-wise? And if so, how do you handle them personally? And I will holler at y'all in the next video. Make sure you practice unconditional self-love so that you can love yourself and others. And I'll holler at y'all later. Bye.